Coming up on tonight's episode of Living Ramadan. Journalist and media personality Shafiq Morton tells us about his Ramadan. Entertainer Wayne McKay provides a non-Muslim perspective on Ramadan. We receive an inspirational message from Nuha Esop. We take a visit to the Muslim Views newspaper and speak to editor Farid Sayed. In our global Ramadan perspective, we take a visit to Melbourne in Australia as Mehboob Bawa Savant tells us about some of the activities in that city during Ramadan. Our location today is the Guguletu Masjid, and we speak to Sheikh Ismail about the activities that the mosque undertakes during this month. And we end with a musical interlude. Salam and welcome to episode 5 of Living Ramadan. My name is Mehboob Bawa and I'm your host for the series. Today we find ourselves in the township of Guguletu. Guguletu means our pride, and pride and joy for the Muslim community in this area is the masjid behind me, the Guguletu Islamic Center and Masjid Murtuza. We're going to be speaking to Sheikh Ismail, who is the resident imam here at the masjid, at the end of the show to find out a little bit more about the activities here, but I'll also be sharing you some information with you about the masjid as we continue with our show. But we start off as we normally do with an interview with someone very interesting, and today is someone who is very synonymous with the Muslim community and media specifically, and that is Shafiq Morton.
And we are going in 5, 4, 3.
I was born in Cape Town. I've been here all of my life. In fact, I work here, I live here, and in fact Cape Town, I think, after having been able to travel, is one of the best cities in the world to be in, particularly if you are a Muslim. So I reverted to Islam in the 1980s, whether surfing had much to do with it, I'm not too sure, but I've had a lifelong relationship with the ocean, with its waves, with its moods and everything, and I still, in fact, surf. In this very study is a surfboard that broke in half due to some wave action, so I'm still active in the waves. In fact, it's my me time being in the waves. It's a time that I get to think about life, think about myself, and just to relax. I have been fortunate enough to win 2 Vodacom awards, a recent nomination for the Liberty Life Awards, Drive Time Presenter in that category. I've won some other awards from international agencies. I've also won an award from the Al-Aqsa Foundation, all sorts of stuff like that. I can't remember all of it, but we don't work for awards, we work for the satisfaction, actually. Yeah, I think I've traveled to more than 30 countries on various assignments. I've written a book about Makkah and Medina, one about Palestine, one about Gift of the Givers. I'm currently writing a novel, which is basically a Sufi satire. I'm hoping to finish that in the next year or so. So yeah, lots of things to do, inshallah. My show's Drive Time, which is the afternoon show, although in Ramadan I've been switched to breakfast. But what I enjoy about that is I do current affairs. So what happens is I talk to such a wide range of people on such a wide range of issues. And being a naturally curious person, journalists, we are curious. Every single day is a very satisfying experience because I'm learning something new and I'm meeting new people, learning new ideas and seeing how the world works. I think one of the most profound guests I had in my studio was the late Ahmed Khathrada, Uncle Kathy. I remember asking him, what does the new South Africa mean to you? And this is the end of the interview, and he turned around and he said, our dignity, our dignity, our dignity. And when I looked, he had tears in his eyes. It's a moment I will never forget. The poverty of Somalia, but the dignity of the people, the streets of Niamey and Niger, the natural way that people practice their Islam, Palestine, the profound anger and the profound oppression suffered by Palestinians, even South Africa, traveling in African countries, going to Malawi, going to Namibia, which is one of my favorite places, lots of different places, and too many impressions to all put it into one sentence. Now, Ramadan in Cape Town is special. I mean, who in the world breaks their fast with pea soup and a dolce? Please tell us. But I mean, apart from that, Cape Town still has that magic. If you consider, I mean, we're a minority community, but in communities where we live, people are still running around with the plates of food, with the barakat, beautiful. the tarawih, the pujis that people make, the dhikrs that people make in between the various raka'ahs. It's a unique experience, and I promise you, there's no other place in the world I'd rather spend Ramadan than Makkah or Medina and in Cape Town. I think a person gets a lot more reflective, a lot more quieter. You can't run around as much as you normally do, because otherwise your energy levels tend to sap a bit. But I always like to use Ramadan to write reflective pieces about the world, about how I feel, and also to try and actually understand the Quran. I don't read the Quran just to read it. I like to read Quran for meaning, and to me the meaning is absolutely critical, absolutely important. We are specialists at shooting our feet off just by our attitude, and I think if we actually imbued the prophetic character, we wouldn't have a PR problem. But we get angry, we get aggressive, we get arrogant, and people don't like that, and people see that, they notice that, because we are under the spotlight.
Always a pleasure to speak to Brother Shafiq Morton, certainly one of the more dynamic media personalities on the Islamic media landscape, and he certainly has accomplished so much in his career. We come to you today from the Guguletu Masjid in episode 5 of Living Ramadan, hosted by myself, Mehboob Bawa, and I hope that you've enjoyed the little snippets that we've shared with you from the various masajids that we've been at through the previous episodes, and there's certainly more to look forward to in the forthcoming episodes as well. This masjid, the Guguletu Masjid, was started about approximately 12 years ago, and the current structure that we are in, the mosque as it stands today, the Islamic Center as it's called in Guguletu, was set up initially through the efforts of Brother Mahmoud Osman Murtaza, and the mosque was named in the Murtaza family, and it is also something that was done in remembrance and in memory of his late parents as well. We'll find out more about this masjid and the activities revolving around the masjid as well in the area that it serves from Sheikh Ismail, who's the resident imam here, in a little bit. But right now we get a perspective of Islam from a non-Muslim.
Hi, my name is Wayne McKay, and I just want to wish all my Muslim friends and colleagues a wonderful Ramadan. Ramadan is very special to me, and growing up in the Muslim community, myself and my brother, the special thing about it was not just the families that's coming together in terms of fasting, but also the special time that they come together and celebrate and see it not just as a holy month, but also giving back to the rest of the community. And this is what I've seen over the years. A lot of things have changed over the years, but what was very special for us growing up, especially in the Cape Flats community, was not only just the camaraderie, but also the mere fact that all the communities, which includes obviously the Christian community, the Jewish community, and everyone else, was celebrating together during the month of Ramadan. So it was very special for us, and up until today it is very special. There's obviously the highlights. It's not just the fact that of the fast, but also obviously when families do break their fast in the evening, and the mere fact that one of my highlights and the favorites was when the folks came around and brought along the borji. The borji is a very important part of with all the little niceties that was brought across. Also the actual day of celebrating Ramadan, where families obviously come together from all over, and growing up in that particular community, those very families became our families. So this is one thing that we hope that will still continue, but it's also a month of giving back, especially giving back to the poor and things happening all over the Western Cape. But from my point of view, it's not necessary that it should happen during the month of Ramadan, but the giving back, but it's something that needs to happen right through the year until the next Ramadan. And I'm fortunate enough to work with people that do that month in and month out. So it's a very special time during the year, and I want to wish all the viewers fantastic and brilliant Ramadan, and all the best, and a happy Lebaran to all of you. Goodbye. My name is Wayne McKay, by the way.
We are at the Gugulethu Masjid in Gugulethu, and this masjid houses not just this main area that we are in where the male musallis perform the salah. There's also a female section upstairs, and alongside at the entrance of the mosque leads into an area where there is a work area for people, there's computers, etc., and an admin area as well in that particular block. This particular center also houses a madrasa that teaches children, and that is done within this masjid area as well at different times of the day. Right now we are going to be looking at two inserts on our show. We'll start off with an interview with therapeutic life coach Nuha Esop, and thereafter we're going to be interviewing editor of Muslim Views Farid Said as he chats about the archiving process of Muslim Views newspapers from the Muslim News from 1960 to the current editions as well.
I have a wonderful mentor and teacher, Dr. John F. DiMartini, and he often quotes this phrase saying that the quality of your life is in direct proportion to the quality of questions you ask yourself. Very interesting and deep thing to say, but what he really means by that is when something goes wrong in your life, what is the question that you're asking? Are you asking why me? Or why again? Or any of those potentially limiting questions? Or are you asking, what's the lesson? What's the message? What does all of this mean? And taking the steps that you need to take from there on onwards. Even when something good happens, I mean, we don't often question when something good happens, but when something good happens, you may just want to know, how can I create more of this? And so there's a question that you need to be asking. So I ask questions all the time. My clients know that I ask quite a few questions for a full hour when they're with me, and so do my students as well. So ask the questions and see the difference.
Okay, my earliest memories are about running around in the press, the printing press. My uncle had started the paper, so we used to visit. And to us at that time, as youngsters, 8-9-year-olds, it was really an exciting place to be in. You know, the press is running, etc. So content didn't matter much to us at that stage. But I think as we grew up, you know, particularly high school, there was a greater political consciousness generally among people. So we were looking at media. We were trying to find answers to questions that were being raised, and not only political, but also in terms of Muslims, growing up as a young Muslim. And I think one incident that really, or one particular period that made a great impression on me was in 1969, when Maulana Fazlur Rahman Ansari visited South Africa. I was just in high school, and Muslim News featured quite a bit as far as his lectures were concerned. So we found that we could attach ourselves, first of all, as young Muslims growing up, to the progressive kind of message that was coming through Muslim News. And then, of course, politically, we looked at Muslim News as an alternative voice. We had the establishment newspapers, and here was a voice from your community. But in the 70s, I think there was a bit of a transition as far as Muslim News was concerned. It became more of an open voice. It took up political struggles. It adopted the black consciousness ideology. And so it became, I would say, less parochial. Not that there was anything wrong with what Muslim News was doing in the early days. And so from the 70s, the paper became a very relevant political voice. And I was fortunate that I joined around about that period, 75, 76, I was full-time. So I saw the transition, the early transition as a reader perhaps, or as a visitor, but then I came in at a time when the paper had become a very progressive political voice. Took it right through to 1986, when the paper, due to various circumstances, was forced to close. And then the next stage of the journey starts, and that's with Muslim Views. We had to change the name, but kept it quite close to the Muslim News sort of sound. And I think what Muslim Views has done is basically continued that journey, continued the kind of progressive position that the paper has taken. And I think more so now, as Muslims globally, we are now a global village. It's, you know, we're so much closer. So as we speak, if something happens in Egypt, someone could be sitting on their phone and saying, look, this has just happened. And I think given that type of village that we're living in, Muslim Views is a very important voice in terms of the kind of moderate Islam, if one wants to call it. I don't like that term really. I would say the Islam of the middle path, the Islam that's in the Quran, that Allah said that we've given you the middle path to follow, and that is the position that Muslim Views takes. I think from the Muslim News days, where there was a cover price, started off with a tikkie or something in those days. But I think with Muslim Views, when we launched Muslim Views, we decided immediately that it's going to be a free sheet, funded by advertising. A print order initially in the early years, it was 10,000. It has grown to 25,000. And now we tell the advertisers that we are offering you a product which will get your product and your services into the market. So it's no longer the kind of sympathy advertising. Yes, we have advertisers who have been with us since 1986. And they feel committed to what Muslim Views is doing. Yes, they may get something in return, but in their case, it's more about supporting a progressive voice. But I think over the years, we've really grown to a stage where advertisers now look at Muslim Views serving a niche market. And I think advertisers have become a bit more sophisticated. They're looking at targets, they're looking at targeted markets, targeted readership. You've got the internet, you've got your daily papers, they spill over. They don't want to pay for that spillover. So they say, look, Muslim Views is the paper to really go to in terms of targeted advertising. The buzzword is convergence. So print media, some say, it's going to go the way of the dodo. I don't believe so. I believe, the feel of the paper. People have tried to, for example, convert me to Kindle and all of those fancy things. I still prefer the feel of the paper. And I think really with Muslim Views as well, I think the market, if you want to call it that we serve, still very much looks forward to the physical feel of the paper. But then there is a new market, the emerging market, the young readers, and they are looking at their little cell phones more than anything else. It's not even the desktop, it's the cell phone. They want news on the go. So that's where we're going to now. Muslim Views is developing its new website. It's going to be on your there will be an app soon. So that is the way to go. There's no doubt about it. So convergence, yes, we're very much part of that journey.
Very inspiring from Nuha Esop that we listened to a little bit earlier on, and it just ended off with that interview with editor of Muslim Views, Farid Sayed, and they're doing some sterling work in the media landscape in the community as well. We find ourselves in the computer room here at the Guguletu Masjid and Islamic Center, and the computer room houses an internet cafe. It's one of the initiatives to encourage people to use the center as well as to earn some income as well for the masjid too. We're now going to be taking a look at a global perspective on Ramadan.
Assalamu alaikum. Tonight we are at the annual Benevolence Iftar. Benevolence is a society in Melbourne, Australia that aims to provide a welcoming and inclusive space for spiritual growth through service to the community. The Benevolence Society offers a number of programs to the community, some of which, or rather importantly, is their Convert Care program, where they provide for the needs of new Muslims who are reconnecting with their faith, and people interested in learning more about the Islamic faith. And I think most importantly, and what we really enjoy, is it is done in a non-judgmental environment. So we really enjoy coming to this particular function every year. Benevolence offers lots of other programs as well during the year for the community as a whole. Courses and workshops, madrasas on a Saturday school, so kids programs and various other programs as well. So tonight we're here for Iftar. Inshallah, it should be a good one.
So So we're at the Guguletu Masjid, and as we end off our show today, we chat for a few moments to Sheikh Ismail, who is the resident Sheikh and Imam here at the Masjid. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Thanks for hosting us and having us here at the Masjid. Tell us, how long have you been resident here at this Masjid?
Jazakumullah khairan for having your program at our masjid and choosing it as one of the masajid to air. Alhamdulillah, we've been here for around 12, 13 years, alhamdulillah, and we sort of founder member imams at the masjid.
Okay, alhamdulillah. The area that you find yourself in, you know, obviously it's quite a challenging area, if one puts it that way. What are some of the challenges that you face here at the masjid with the community, and then also what outreach programs are you involved in?
Alhamdulillah, being born and bred in Guguletu, so I come from here, come from the area. However, being a Muslim is always a challenge, in that Islam is still seen to be a foreign religion to a great extent. We find that parents are still not ready to allow their children, their youth, you know, to enter into Islam, but alhamdulillah, they are entering. So some of the challenges are the perceptions of the people, and I know that for a while we had to switch off the adhan, for example, because people were thinking that we're making noise. Other than that, I think it's normal challenges, you know, of being, you know, better Muslims, inshallah ta'ala, and trying to do our best, you know, to live up to what Islam expects from us.
Yeah. And then what are you involved in during Ramadan? Which programs at the masjid and for the community?
Alhamdulillah, during Ramadan we have our iftar programs that are regularly. We have our Salat al-Tarawih that are normal, and from time to time we have a word or two, like after Isha, you know, have a word of advice and so on and so forth. And as much as we can, try to enable people to memorize a few surahs, because Ramadan is really the time that people find time to, you know, read the Quran, you know, so we maximize in terms of, you know, people's achievement in the month of Ramadan, alhamdulillah.
Are there any charity programs that you're involved in, any feeding schemes, etc., that you...
Now, alhamdulillah, we've got a feeding scheme that's running for the past, I think, over 10 years now. Every Tuesdays and Thursdays we feed our community with soup and so on and so forth. Alhamdulillah, we've got an internet cafe that's running here where people are assisted with, you know, their sort of photocopying and faxing needs and so on and so forth, as well as a computer center that we had run for a while and teaching people computer skills, and it stopped, but we're hoping to continue again. We also had a very successful sewing class that ran here, inshallah ta'ala. Alhamdulillah, we are thinking of restarting that again. We had to, for some reason, give away the machines. We were hoping to buy and get new ones, inshallah.
Inshallah. And we are now coming towards the last few days of Ramadan, and Eid is fast approaching. Just a few words from your side.
Now, alhamdulillah, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the opportunity of Ramadan. You know, it's a great blessing. It means for us to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It means for us to prepare ourselves for, you know, the battlefield after the month of Ramadan, where things will not be so easy. And so hopefully that Ramadan has prepared us, you know, and has sort of, you know, armored us enough to be able to resist whatever temptations come with it. And so I think, as being in the last few days of Ramadan, I think one needs to maximize ibadah as much as possible, and obviously make intention. For example, with the 6 days of Shawwal coming up, and one hopes that you know, one will partake in the 6 days, so as then to continue, you know, the sort of the fasting as a means of protection, as a means of, you know, fighting our, you know, kind of desires and so on and so forth, to become better Muslims. I think that's what we want. And I think lastly, to, you know, say Eid Mubarak to everyone, that may they enjoy their Eid, and that their Eid may be a means of, you know, as much as we're celebrating and enjoying, but it should also be done within the bounds that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prescribed for us. Jazakumullah khairan.
Shukran, Sheikh. Sheikh Ismail here at the Guguletu Masjid. And with that, we come to the end of today's show. Remember to tune in tomorrow night for another edition of Living Ramadan. Until we meet again, remember to cherish every moment in the company of the special people in your life. Let them know as often as you can that they are important to you and that you love them dearly. I wish you peace and blessings, inshallah.
Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, Ya Malik, Ya Quddus, Ya Salam, Ya Mu'min, Ya Muhaymin, Ya Aziz, Ya Jabbar, Ya Mutakabbir, Ya Khaliq, Ya Bari, Ya Musawwir, Ya Ghaffar, Ya Qahhar. غفور يا شكور يا علي يا كبير يا حفيظ يا مقيم يا حسيب يا جليل يا كريم يا رقيب يا مجيب يا واسع يا حكيم يا ودود يا مجيد يا باعث يا شهيد يا حق يا وكيل